Hey guys, awesome to have G-Man here with me. From where are you guys tuning in? Let me know if you are excited as we are. Both of us have basically talked for like 5 minutes now. We don't want to spoil anything because we
We had to
actually
stop,
don't
otherwise we would have
really
continued.
know each other. We actually don't know each other. We don't want to spoil the video. So if you guys have any questions or anything you would like us to talk about today, let us know in the comments as well. So, G-Man, what I wanted to know from you,
Yeah,
where are you actually from? You are a Sharks fan. Are you from Durban? Where are you from?
I'm a confused one. I'm born in Cape Town and live in Port Elizabeth. So technically, I should be a Stormers supporter, but my dad's a Stormers supporter, and growing up, I wanted to be something different. So because it's a funny story. My favorite cricketer in the day was Sean Pollock. He's from the Dolphins. So I supported them in cricket, and then through that, I went to the Sharks in rugby, and that actually kick-started the passion of the sport, which technically took it over in the end. But yeah,
Ah,
that's
okay.
how the confusing story. But PE in the Eastern Cape.
No, that's also like my story. Mine is also confusing because I'm a Stormers fan. Everyone knows that. But I was born in the Northern Cape. I was born
Yeah,
in the Northern Cape. Back in those days, the guys always decided like, okay, we're either Cheetahs fans or Western Province fans. Like that's
yeah.
kind of the story. And so I kind of followed my dad in that sense. I wasn't like you that kind of went the opposite direction of my dad. I followed my dad, and from there the love just grew with like guys like Percy Montgomery, Skalkberger, all the legends.
And
You just kind of follow your players. That's how
your
love
heroes, yeah.
really starts.
Well, that was also confusing with me. My favorite player at the time was Brayton Paulser. I loved watching him. So whenever he scored a try against the Sharks, I'd be, okay, it's Paulser. He's allowed to. So I'm a very confused supporter. Like Grant's just said, Gareth Mason is a Cape Town trader. Technically, yeah. My friends give me a drumming every time we're watching it because they're all Stormers. So I'm
Yeah,
outnumbered.
or like this comment over here, another Stormers fan.
There we go.
It's
Heinrich,
actually
the
funny.
legend himself.
I know you're friends with Heinrich, or you
Yeah,
guys chat a lot. I'm technically a fan of basically every single team,
yeah,
every single rugby team. But I don't know if it's with you as well. It kind of happened with following rugby. It's kind of like when the channel started, I kind
yeah.
of fell in love with every single team because you kind of learn to be unbiased towards every team. So you start to love every team.
Yeah, exactly. That was the same with me. Even from an international point of view, obviously Springboks all the way. But what really kicked me off was the Six Nations and even the Rugby Championship. And I grew very fond of the All Blacks and Ireland. Those were my favorite international teams, and even the subscribers got a connection to that as well. So it's exactly what you said because we're researching the whole time and trying to be as unbiased and fair because that's what people want to see. You do prove like a respect for each team. Like growing up in school for us, it's like you either love or hate the Bulls. Sorry, Heinrich, but for but now it's like I just love the rivalry, and now it's more for mates going at each other. That's what's fun for me now.
Yeah, I remember at school I always used to say, uh, any team can beat the Bulls. Like the Bulls just shouldn't win. Any team can beat the
Yeah,
Bulls, even if it's from overseas. Now it's like the Bulls should win because they're a South African team. You kind of love your country even more. But then
yes,
on the opposite side of the spectrum as well, like let's bring in what's happening with Australia at the moment with all the
mm,
issues with admin and with that type of stuff. Uh,
yeah,
that's hard for me to accept as a fan of rugby. As a fan of rugby, you don't want to see stuff like that happen to giants, to
exactly.
big countries. That can happen to big countries like Australia. It could be happening to countries like South Africa later on. I mean, we have our issues, but they are really in a bad spot at the moment.
Well, that's the thing, and it all comes down to who's your administrator in the sport. Because at the end of the day, if they're good, cool. But if they're not, they can make and break you. And that was the problem, I think, with Rugby Australia is that the politics within the sport and caused quite a bit of drama with that. So, like you say, you do feel quite bad for them because I mean, I've grown up, and I'm sure you have too, watching these guys. So you don't want to see them in a bad situation, whether you hate them as a when they're against you, but you want them to succeed and do well, especially when they're down and out like this.
Yeah, what's happening at the moment is bad, but hopefully they can pull things together. I
Yeah.
saw, was it today, this morning, they got a loan through from World Rugby, a couple of, is it $1 billion or something like that? But I didn't go too
Yeah.
much into this today. I was more worried about this. So yeah, they got a couple of billion from World Rugby. Hopefully that saves them a bit and get
I
them
think it will
sorting out this
definitely
stuff.
keep it going because I mean all teams really with this COVID-19 pandemic, it's going to put us all at a massive loss, and the fact is it's not going to be over for a long time because of the we're not going to have crowds in this for the next 18 months. So that's already another factor. So it's going to be a long recovery and process. But with hopefully with sponsorship and deals and investments happening, we could grow it back.
Yeah, it's kind of making rugby think in a different way as well.
Precisely.
Because look, a lot of like Pisho actually brought up, and unfortunately he quit World Rugby, but like
Yeah.
Pisho brought up, a lot of people love soccer because of a proper game, and I can vouch for that. I actually started watching football because of playing FIFA. So that's a very big thing that happens with younger guys. So
You're breaking up, or I've lost you, you've lost me, hopefully. I don't know who's live. Ask me. What are the comment section saying? Who's good or who's bad? Is it me or you? Looks like I'm still going. Oh, so Skinnybru's frozen. Okay, so while he comes back, G-Man, I'm good. Okay, well, I'll keep going to see what happens.
I'm
Oh,
back.
wait, there he is.
I'm back. I
There
thought something like that could happen. So luckily, I told G-Man that I'm gonna make a plan for that.
I didn't know who was gone, so I was checking, and then the guy saying, "No, I'm fine. You were frozen and all that, but luckily you're back."
Yeah, I'm back luckily. So hey, but anyway, we're back.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. The video is still going on.
Heinrich, you switch sides.
Yeah, we're the Bulls and the Stormers fans now switching sides. That's what's going on. I don't know how to turn us
Man.
switch us back again. That's gonna happen now.
I like it. But yeah, where were we? Talking about Australia and the financial situations.
Yeah. Well, actually, with South Africa kind of
Yeah.
having to find new ways, and Super
Oh, yes, the
Rugby kind of
game you were
finding new
saying.
ways.
You were talking
Yeah.
about the game because a lot of I was approached by Andrew Ford, he does all those awesome collages on Facebook, on YouTube, and he was saying he's trying to start a petition to get a new solid rugby game out there in order for fans to fall in love with the game and then fall in love with the sport. Because, like you say,
Yeah.
if you play FIFA, you tend to get hooked. Okay, let me watch this live, and I was the same. If I'm watching a sport, I want to play it, but and vice versa. So I think it's a good plan to get a game involved, but a proper game with full licensed teams and all that stuff to attract
Yeah.
fans that maybe not sure.
Yeah, and that works properly. I mean, I live streamed this morning Rugby Challenge 3 with the Skinnybru Rugby Challenge 3 with the
How
World
does
Cup
that
and
work?
that stuff.
I was catching you. I was trying to catch the stream, but I ran out of time to join you. But what are they playing a game, and whoever wins? I know Heinrich
Yeah,
got
it's
me
basically
involved as
computer
well.
versus computer. It's computer versus computer, and then the thing plays
Whoever,
out the whole game, and then you see how it goes out. It wasn't too bad, actually. I can actually say it wasn't too bad. Your rugby competitive spirit does kick
I, s-
in, so you do
I
enjoy
saw
watching
you.
it.
I saw you can actually stream and react to it. So I might actually try that when the Springboks
Yeah,
play a game, or if we've got a good game tomorrow. I didn't
yeah.
realize
You should
that.
just
So
get permission. Just get permission
okay,
from Super, but then it's fine.
cool.
Then no problem
Yeah,
then.
and then
But
cool. No,
yeah,
lucky.
they should just bring out a proper game, then we can enjoy it. Because this morning's game, the guys pass through the pole. The Springboks run from behind their own line, their own try line, and go and score a try on the other side of the field. I'm not a I'm a big Springbok supporter, but I know that for a fact won't happen with this current Springbok side.
Well, some of these games, players run through each other as well, which is hilarious to watch. So
Yeah.
that's classic.
Talking about other changes that rugby should make and so on. There's a lot of talk about change with Super Rugby.
Mm.
What's your opinion on that? There's a lot of change, talking of change with the format and that stuff, or ditching the competition completely. What do
Mm.
you think of all that talk?
Look, I'm mixed emotions on this one. From a competition point of view, it definitely needs to change. And I'm going to go with the first point is to reduce it. It needs to go back to Super 12 level. I want South Africa to still stay in because I think it's going to be exciting. But this conference system is too long and it's too confusing, and we need to bring back that excitement that Super 12 and Super 10 had way back when, because it's currently not got that. And I think World Rugby are gonna pick it up, or SANZA, now when these provincial leagues start, because you're gonna have the top New Zealand teams fighting it out against each other, which is something we don't get to see. And I really hope Super Sport's going to get the rights for that so we
They
can
are.
watch it.
They are.
Oh, there we go. So that's going to be awesome to see. And I think by judging that, you can pinpoint who your top teams are, put the top in, and say goodbye to a few, which is sad, I know, but we need to figure out to excite the sport, because the South has currently got no seats down at the moment, and this is the way. South Africa, should they go overseas? Yes, but not all of them. We can split this. We've got other teams to formulate. The Kings had a good run. Kick them out. Maybe bring in a combined team to join the Cheetahs. I know Keith Wood has said South Africa shouldn't even be there, but at the end of the day, stuff him. It's going to happen what's going to happen,
Yeah,
and
no.
it's whether he likes it or not, South Africa is going to be included for the future. So we'll just have to wait and see. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I love the Super Rugby in the sense that that teams play over the whole southern hemisphere. So to me,
Yeah.
the whole conference system will take away a big part of Super Rugby. I know a lot of people would love it. In a sense, I would love it. It would be big. It would be
Mm.
like a Curry Cup with like the biggest players in there. But the sense of Super Rugby is playing overseas, and you're playing against New Zealand, against Australia, and that type of thing. But dropping teams is probably the best bet to get the competition better again. I, I wonder how things will go just by dropping one team now with the Sunwolves, but getting it back to the Super 14. Because I think they
Yeah.
already said they're going to do the round robin thing again, not the conference
Yeah.
system anymore. The round robin is the best system because it's the
Agreed.
easiest to explain, it's the easiest to understand. I mean, the Pro
And
14
everyone
also
gets a
has
fair
a conference
chance.
system. Yeah, everyone gets a fair chance as well. So, like with the Pro 14, they also have a conference system which you
Yeah.
play twice against someone in your own conference and once against someone else and
It's
twice against someone in
confusing.
your own country, and it's very complicated. When I had to do my first
Mm.
video on the Pro 14, I actually had to study up properly on
Same.
how this
I just
thing works, and it's like
exactly the same. I
complicated.
actually
Yeah,
got confused with the whole system, and You know what? At the end of the day, because the Six Nations kept me going, I thought, you know what? I'm going to wait for the quarterfinals when it will knockout stage. It's just easier and makes sense because I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking. Now I know the way, but
Yeah.
no, I agree. It's just confusing, and a round robin is simple, and it gets teams to catch a wake up by knowing where they're going to rank. So if the All Black teams are going to dominate, then the world is going to see it. And tough luck just means South Africa need to do better or Australia need to do better in order to improve. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, look, what Grant is saying here, the biggest
Yeah,
problem
it's all
with
good.
round robin is the travel factor, which
Mm.
is a
He's
big
right.
issue. It is a big issue, and but I mean, it used to work. It used to work back in the day. Back in the day, South Africa. Last time it was Super 14, the Bulls were still on top. They were still winning stuff, and that was still touring
That's the
sides,
thing.
and
And
yeah, that was back in Super 14. South Africa was still winning stuff. Well, the
dominant.
Bulls were still winning stuff. So
Well, yeah, no, fair enough. But that's the thing. I mean, fixtures can be manipulated in order to get these guys to stay in a period like in Australasia for a couple of weeks. Then they go back home, play, and then I mean, there's ways to look around it in order to improve it or to change things up to reduce the travel factor. Because I agree, it is a problem, and that's one of the reasons why they say South Africa should leave it because New Zealand, Australia, and the Pacific Island team should create their own tournament in order to build something there.
mm,
So yeah, everyone's got their own way at it.
yeah, but like, look, I'm not opposed to South Africa going north as well. I'm not opposed to it. I think we'll do well there. It will be good for us as well. It's just
Yeah,
I love the Super Rugby. It's just a
same.
tournament I love. It hasn't been good for a couple of years. Want to admit it or not, it hasn't been the greatest thing to watch, and it's not always the best thing. But
Yeah,
hey,
but
we
I
can
think
still
these
make it work.
changes will do that. But yeah, I mean, like Heinrich has just said, SA teams won three. SA team actually, he's corrected it. Um, and that's the truth. South Africa were pretty good, so I think bringing this forces players to or teams to play better. So I'm for it.
Mm, yeah, I'm for it as well. Um, Another change going on at the moment with Super Rugby sides, the biggest changes going on, the Bulls with Jake White coming in,
Mm,
just signing players all over, players being released, all that type of
yeah.
stuff. What's your feeling about Jake White over at the Bulls? What is going to happen over there?
Look, I'm mixed with old Jake because I was disappointed at what he did with the Sharks. I felt he had more to offer. He should have sticked around, but he obviously wanted to go coach overseas. He's brilliant. He's a genius. He's phenomenal at what he does, and I think he's going to be the answer that the Bulls currently need because unfortunately they're nowhere right now. They're on and off, but they've got a squad pool of phenomenal talent, a young, experienced, and they can definitely be that dominant side again. They just need the right people there, and I think Jake thrives on challenges like this, and he's done that
Yeah,
with Montpellier in Japan. He's done that with the Brumbies, and even with the Sharks, we weren't bad. But I wish he stayed on longer. So I'm hoping for the Bulls' sake, and I do mean this, that he sticks around and doesn't just do one off and then buggers off to the next big payout. I want him to stick and rebuild this team and give an option for them because I do believe that they have the potential. And with regards to the changes in and out, they need a clean slate because there were players who wanted to go for bigger deals. So I think a whole new clean out like they're doing is the best thing for Bulls rugby. We've seen it with the Springboks, we've seen it with the current Proteas team, and hopefully we'll see it with Australia. So for me, I think the Bulls are going to be a team to actually watch out for and be nervous of.
yeah, I agree actually with you. Jake White, he is one of those guys that just comes in and he overhauls the whole team. He changes everything. He basically gets all the basics right of the team, and then everything changes around, and that team looks like a complete new team, and they get things right again.
Yeah,
But the thing about Jake White, and you actually touched on it, he doesn't stay long. He isn't
No,
someone that stays there for a decade. A decade. Understand? He's not
no.
Heineke Meyer that will stay at the Bulls for
Mm.
a long time. He, as
And
soon as he gets bored with the changes that he's made, or he thinks he's gotten far enough, or he gets a big offer from France or Japan,
precisely.
the chances are he'll probably
Or
take it.
international deal, even because I know he
Yeah,
wants international.
yeah.
He's
He
hungry for
wants
that.
to be back there.
So we could literally see another Eddie Jones incident where he's with where he's with the Stormers and then jump to the next international job. And I think Jake will stick with the Bulls until he gets that international job. So hopefully it's going to still be a while.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will take a while. I don't know if his reputation has kind of went overseas yet. I know he has the reputation around him that he's just an overhaul coach. He kind of changes things around and then he moves
Mm.
on. He has that reputation, and that I
Yes.
think SA Rugby had a kind of a chat around this, and they also talked about he's an overhaul coach, but he doesn't stay for the long haul. So they want that commitment from a guy. So he said he's a changed man. He wants to stay on until after
Well, then
2023. I
go
don't
for it.
know.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
don't
see.
know.
We'll give him time. 2023, it's a long time to build. And again, it's going to be the next World Cup. After that World Cup, people are going to get fired. Eddie Jones will probably leave England. We'll probably see another All Black coach. South Africa, you never know what situation. So I see that will be the next option. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and a lot of people are also talking about the signings that he's made. I mean, he's made a couple of old guy signings. He's brought in Aplon, which
Mm.
I love, obviously. I'm a Stormers fan, so I love him. Looks like the
Yeah,
Bulls
it's
are the
brilliant.
Stormers' retirement village these days, like where all our guys go to retire. It makes it very difficult for Stormers fans to hate them with Schalk Brits
Yeah,
and Vermeulen and Aplon and those guys
yeah.
all
Seeing
retiring there.
seeing Vermeulen there was so odd. I'm so used to him in Province or Stormers, and to see him in a Blue Bulls jersey was crazy. But good choice. But I agree.
Yeah,
Aplon, I'm excited to see in the Bulls. I rated him highly, and I was sorry that he never got an opportunity. But we'll have to wait and see what these new guys bring.
yeah, that loose forward pack though with it's Arno Botha, Vermeulen, and then they have Josh Strauss as well. And then there's talks of Marcel Coetzee coming in, so and they have Marco van Staden.
Yeah,
What? It's
yeah,
crazy there with
that
loose
Bulls
forwards.
team. I'm really. I think I said it the other day in the stream to Heinrich. I'm worried about the Bulls. I think they're going to be a hell of a force to be reckoned with. But it's exciting.
Mm.
That's what South Africa needs. We need to all be competitive. We need the Bulls at the best, the Sharks at the best, the Lions and the Stormers to really,
Yes.
really pick up.
Yeah, they all need to be at their best. But sadly, we saw this morning with that Black Friday sale you were talking
Mm.
about, with the Lions going on with like 4 players being released, with Marks being one of them. Tyrone Green, a player that I really rate as a future Bok, he left as well. Reynolds left as well. It's
Yeah,
gonna be tough there. It's gonna be
that
tough at
was,
the Lions, I
the
think.
Lions surprised me with that because there wasn't much big talk on
Not at
them
all.
losing. It was all the Bulls. It was the Sharks. They were worried about my Pimpy at one stage. And obviously with Stormers, Peter Steph du
Yeah,
Toit offered millions in Montpellier, but decides to stay. And respect and credit to that man for doing that because it just shows the loyalty to his club and to his country for doing that. Because I mean, we all know if we get a promotion, we're going to jump ship for the money
yeah,
wise. But the fact that he's willing to deduct is amazing.
yeah. No, it is. It's crazy. But I also heard that the rumors are still continuing of him leaving. I still think it's probably just rumors. After saying no a couple of times, I doubt he's gonna say
Maybe
yes to another.
Maybe, see, it all depends. I think if we had rugby, it would have been a different story. But I think maybe in 2 years' time, I think he'll
Mm.
give the Stormers another season, probably next year if we're back up and running normally. And then I think probably 2022, after the Lions and all the exciting stuff, these guys want to also to show Rusty the loyalty, and by staying for that, then they get first kind of choice of the Lions. So it's important.
Yeah, I agree with you. But the team that looks the strongest after this transfers, or the team that looks the most settled, is probably the Sharks, because they didn't have a lot of movement, right? So that's actually good. They're a settled team. They brought
What a change, because
Easy
we
in
normally do
now,
lose.
because I don't know if he is in. That looked like rumors in the beginning, but he's in, and that's about it. And Tyler Paul is out. That's it. That's a movement.
Yeah. Now the Sharks have a solid squad. I'm impressed with them, and I'm glad to see that things stay pretty much the same. But again, you've got to keep the momentum up. So we'll have to wait and see how things go with them. I mean, they're also unpredictable. They're on a roll and then they lose. So I'm hoping that this now, by being settled in, will keep them going.
Yeah, it's just Esterhuizen is a big loss there that's going next
Massive.
year. That's the big loss.
Gutted he's gone. But we knew that was coming months ago.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so that's a long one. He's joining, I think it's Wilco Lau is also going to the Harlequins.
yeah.
Yeah.
So a few going to Harlequins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to Super Rugby, the New Zealand Super Rugby. I'm not gonna try and pronounce that word again. I can't. I've tried. It's
I
impossible.
keep that up
Doesn't
too.
work for Afrikaans tongue. It's impossible. Who are you backing? Like, usually we are fans like to New Zealand teams, but who are you backing? If you had to back a New Zealand team, who would you back?
I've always had a soft spot for the Blues. Because I loved watching Carlos Mensa for them. So yeah, I'm probably going to stick with them. I don't want to go for Crusaders because they're the winning team. So I think it will be, yeah, I'm going the Blues this year, and also I'm very curious to see, and not because of Bowden Barrett. I've always liked him, but I'm curious to see how Barrett does. But it's going to be a good tournament, I think.
Yeah, I'm also a Blues fan. I thought we're gonna make it interesting here, but I'm a Blues fan. I've always been a Blues fan. I've liked them since Rokethoko. I was a
There's
fan of
another
him.
legend.
Yeah, I used
There's
to play
another.
wing at school, so I always liked wingers. So if there's a nice winger, I liked him. Rokethoko, he's a beast. But
He really
now
was.
with Bowden coming in, that's even better. And they are usually the losing side, but they're winning now. There's just more
Well, that's the
reasons.
thing. Even without Bowden, they were looking strong. So I mean, I think there's so many Blue supporters because Two Cents is a Blue supporter. The driving mall I think he's also the Blues. So there's a lot of Blue supporters here. But yeah, there's something about that team that I've really enjoyed. I think Hurricanes know because I'm not a yellow fan. But
Mm.
blue is my favorite color, even though I don't support the Blue Bulls. But I think they'll be good.
Yeah, like this comment says the Chiefs as well. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the Chiefs as well. That came from Miles Muliaina, I think. Probably as a
Yeah,
kid, I was a big fan of his. Um, I
there's
have a
another
bit of a
legend.
soft spot for them. That's probably my second team in New Zealand, but that's about it. The Crusaders, they are always the winning team with all the best players and
Yeah,
that
I
type of
can't,
stuff.
can't
So
select it.
yeah, it's difficult. The Hurricanes, they play the best rugby. You can't lie about that. It's the most attractive rugby and so on. But and the Highlanders, some reason I've just
Hey,
never really connected with it.
actually,
It's
they used to be solid. Driving more, not a Chiefs fan. Oh, my bad. I thought he was Blues. I've seen him in a Blues jersey though. On that one, but yeah, I think it will be an interesting way to see. I'm curious to see the Hurricanes Blues because it's Barrett versus Barrett, Geordie
yeah,
versus Bowden, and even Crusaders, Scott versus them. So I think it's going to be intense.
yeah. I think was it Squidge Rugby that said the other night. He said, "Good news for overseas fans because obviously they don't know New Zealand. Uh,
Yeah,
the Barretts are distributed evenly. No team has
yes,
more than one Barrett in this in their team."
I saw that. That bloke is so funny with with his stuff,
Yeah, he's
and
good.
it's right. That's what for me is making me really. I'm more excited for this New Zealand one than Australia, and I just think we're going to see top of the range rugby, competitive. They're all fighting for a point. They're all fighting for spots in the All Black squad. So I think it's going to be a hell of a tournament.
Yeah, I think this domestic competitions, even look, Australia is probably the one that we're the least excited for. Sorry, Australians, it's just that's how it is. The rugby there hasn't been the greatest at the moment. The New Zealand one is the one everyone's looking
Yeah,
for. That's the one that's going to be amazing. But
good.
even the South African one, in every country, it's going to be big rugby because there's little time for guys to actually get into their international squads and make a statement. So it's
Exactly.
domestic games going to be very, very hard.
No, definitely. So, and if you were to ask me this probably 5 years ago, I would have been more excited for the Aussie one, just growing up watching these guys. I mean, I had a soft, quite still do, for Australia. And the Waratahs were one of my favorite teams. But I mean, they've been shocking. So maybe they'll prove us wrong and bring in a cracking tournament. But New Zealand's standing out right now.
Yeah, look, my best team or my favorite Australian team got kicked out. So Western Force used to
Sports,
be my favorite Australian team and they got
and
kicked out. So
redemption. So they're coming back. So they've got a few people to sort out. So I'm curious about the Force. I think they're going to be a force in this tournament. I think it could be good.
I mean, back in the day, the Force, that's where Pocock started. It's O'Connor was there, Honey
Okay.
Badger, those guys. That was an impressive squad to
Money
look at.
Badger. Sure, there was the player. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a player. Then there was another question. This is changing the topic a little bit that I got from Grant this morning. He said we should bring it up in this stream. He
Yeah.
said if we could change any laws now with this law change with scoring against the
Brother.
pole, which I am very glad about. I've never
Yeah.
liked that law. If we could change any laws, which one would it be?
I need to distract with that comment. Favorite teams are losing one. That's a good one. Sure. There's quite a few with regards to the laws. I want to see. Sure, I had a few on my mind, but the tackling system I think needs to be looked at a bit more. I feel they're not concentrating. I want to bring in more of a captaincy choice of referring decisions of a referee. I think too often there's been situations where, I mean, no disrespect to the refs because they've got a tough job, but they've missed out on calls and opportunities. For example, the grabbing incident where players, captains can actually say, listen, right, you're not seeing this, let's refer it, because at the end of the day, a try given by a ref can win or lose you the game. We've seen it in 2007 Rugby World Cup. We've seen it in the past. Um, so I think for a TMO type, like they do in the cricket, you get two choices, and
Yeah, like a
one maybe
referral.
first off, second review system. There we go. Something like that, and then also something with the scrums. The scrums are too slow at the moment. They need to
Yeah.
get the game flowing more. So I'd say scrums need to work on some sort of TMO option.
Mm. I read up the other day on this was quite a nice option actually, and I thought to myself initially, what's this guy on about? And then when I thought about it more, I was like, this could actually work. One of the stuff they were talking about is at scrum time, where the scrum half of the opposition team can
Hmm.
basically run around to almost at the other side of the scrum. And I was like, sure, but what's the big deal about it? But then when I thought about it a little bit more, I was like,
Yeah,
your scrums will probably go a bit quicker if your number 8 could just pick it up and go because there's no little guy irritating him here to tackle him.
Yeah,
And
fair enough.
your backline could probably run a little bit better because you have a situation where your number 8 has more control, or your scrum half has more control over it, which would probably make a little bit like the game a little bit more interesting in attacking situations. I don't know. That was a rule that I thought they could maybe look into a bit more, because it doesn't really make sense why the scrum half can basically go to the other side of the scrum, to the back of the flankers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think something definitely needs to happen in order, because even with like one of the comments there, put the ball down in the middle to start. None of them do that. I mean,
Yeah,
it, even they've even got this whole spin strategy where the ball just automatically goes the way of the team who's got the scrum. So that's
yeah,
definitely an important rule that does not get looked at by a ref. And I know they were supposed to be strict on this last year or the year before, and I haven't seen anything. They're not putting it in the
yeah,
middle; they're just throwing it in.
yeah,
So I agree with that. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and for me, the scrums should be the next option. You sorted out your pole sort story. Now let's focus on the actual game to bring
yeah.
it better and make it simpler and quicker.
Yeah, and there's another one that this guy also talked about. A little bit on the fence about it. He was talking about, again, to speed up the game and make it more interesting again. Let
Yeah,
us see more running rugby. He was talking about making the line outs, uh, taking it back to, you have to have your full amount of forwards back in your line outs so that your back line isn't stacked with forwards. So
mm.
basically there's more gaps over on the field, so you're more likely to take the ball wide and try to run it from anywhere on the park.
Oh, that's not a bad one. I think it could definitely change things up a bit. Especially, I like a running game, so anything to get more of
Yeah,
a running opportunity, I'm definitely for, because this box kicking and kicking all the time just drives me mad. And that's why I've always respected the All Blacks, is because they always take opportunities. So
yeah.
definitely,
This one from Chester. If the scrums
yeah,
are dropped, the
good
props
one.
don't get paid.
That's a smart one. That's a clever one.
Or if you kick more than twice in the game, you can't get paid.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Uh, then there's another issue with the virus going on at the moment, with
Yeah.
the youngsters at the moment, the schoolboys. I read the other day that they're talking about giving schoolboy rugby players the chance to repeat their matric year next year to play rugby, which was weird. But
I've
if you
heard
think
that.
about it a little bit, yeah, if you think about it a little bit, it's probably some people, it's their goal in life to get a professional contract. So
Yeah.
that's their stage. That matric year is their stage to actually do it, to get a contract,
And to
to
put their names up.
put somewhere. Yeah, and I don't know. What do
Oh,
you
yeah.
think is going to happen with the guys next year? Do you think there's going to be a bit of a gap now in our youngsters, or is it a chance for us to bring the other guys back from overseas?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. This whole overseas talk always gets me down, because I like seeing the guys grow up provincially and get on. But I think it's an opportunity for the youngsters, and I think with you talking now also about this whole matric thing, it widens an opportunity to really go and develop the youth and give these guys an opportunity in the junior squads and to see what they can do, because they're going to need it. Because whether or not we need, people rely on these matric years to see what these guys can do for varsity cup and all that stuff and how they do it. So I think it's a nice opportunity to take on, to really control the game and the players itself, because one thing's for sure, it's not just South Africa that's going to have this problem, it's the world.
Yeah,
So we're all going to miss out on maybe a year of generation. For them to go back, eh, great stuff, but it still means another year is going to drop. So we're going to lose out in certain systems. So I would
yeah, yeah,
put them in varsity and test them out, create more teams, create more opportunities. Yes, it's tough that you're going to miss it, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. but you also don't want to hold back the future in the grade 11s or 10s
Mm.
who see maybe a better opportunity than a matriculant. So for me, yeah, it's going to be interesting on how they're going to put that into perspective.
Yeah, it's a very difficult one. It's a very difficult one to actually think of a solution for, because they could be one of the future Bok legends could be in Matric at the moment, and no one has seen him yet, or
Precisely.
no one really knows of him. Or the future star is in grade 11 at the moment, and if we put a grade 12 of this year in his spot next year, we never see the other one. So it's a strange situation to be in, and I don't think any of us have ever thought that we'll be in this situation where we might miss out on a year of players.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see because at the end of the day, and this is going to be probably the biggest problem rugby's going to face, schools, colleges, whatever, is adapting back to the actual training, how they're going to train under these
Mm,
new regulations. Because these guys, yes, they've been running, yes, they've been jogging, yes, they've been doing weights and all that stuff, but they've not been getting the physical contact of another
yeah,
person smashing them, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
So if these guys rush back to higher level rugby, we're going to see it. I think whether we like it or not is that there's going to be a hell of a lot of injuries of players breaking the odd bone or two because their bodies are going to be a little bit weak at the moment, unless there's a
yeah.
training strategy that they have to keep the bones strong. But that's going to be definitely a tender part for these guys, and it will be interesting to see that next month with New Zealand's games.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be a very expansive game there because, I mean, the defensive structure isn't
Yeah,
completely like it should be. So we'll see a lot of tries there. But, I mean, the guys want 4 weeks of training. And even if they do 4 weeks of training, it's not even guaranteed contact sessions. I mean, in Australia, they showed the regulations of their training. And I think it was like 2 or so weeks where it's not at all contact training. Is basically you have to pass or have to kick the ball and stuff like that.
yeah.
I just wonder if you have to, before you catch the ball, you have to wash the ball and then pass it back, or what, what's the situation? It's
Yeah, it's going to be, we're in a new world. It's going to be interesting to see how they adapt. And like Heinrich said in the comments, match fitness and contact fitness is two different things. So I don't know. Coaches, this is your time to shine and to figure out a way on how to really adapt this game.
yeah, and hopefully we don't see massive injuries ending any careers. Hopefully it's just the odd strain or something like that.
Especially guys like Peter Steph Toy has been out for so long on injury. He's not really had that much practice in the training game. So
Yeah, he needs that match fitness.
last thing we need is like a Bobby Skinstad situation where these guys, an injury like this could destroy a career from a comeback, if you know what I mean. So it's gonna, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it will. These, not maybe, these coaches will have an idea on how they're going to put this into perspective.
Hmm. Actually, just touching on this comment that I read, it just made me think of another point that I read the other day. Do you think in our rugby at the moment, in our top tier rugby, which is super rugby at the moment, do you think that there's too many average players in there? I saw a article like that where guys are probably rushed a bit from school level or university level at the moment because our top players are playing in Europe, which has its advantages. It has its advantages, but now you give an opportunity to the younger guys. But that's probably one of the things that is kind of breaking the game down a bit.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very valid point and a big concern. And like you say, it could be a good thing or a bad thing because you don't want to rush players. But I do feel rugby's doing it in a better way because we've got so many systems like the Varsity Cup that gets massive exposure. So the guys are already starting to get prepared. And then you've got your lower provincial leagues like the before the Curry Cup and all that jazz. I think there's enough happening right now But I do agree that certain players will be rushed into positions when they're not quite ready, and maybe will spark in the first year and then like die out in the next 2 years after that. But
Yeah.
I'm off. I want development in South Africa, and if we're doing it well at varsity levels, which I think we are, um, when these guys go overseas, it gives more opportunity for these youngsters to shine and put their hands up. The only problem is, and this is what really gets me the most, is that these guys put all the effort in from a provincial level to Currie Cup, they're sticking around, to Super Rugby, they're sticking around, and then all of a sudden, Willie Leroux, Faf de Klerk, Andre Pollard, all these big names come back, and all the hard work that these guys have done gets thrown out the window, and they miss out on opportunities because we can name a full-on team of Springboks that haven't been given the opportunity due to these overseas guys coming back and kicking out the opportunities. For example, I moaned about Sarah Pretorius the other day, um, a
Mm.
player who missed out. I mean, for me, even Corbus Reina could have had a more opportunity, but okay, he ran overseas because he didn't. I don't think he saw his position because it was Francois Hougaard, it was all the other guys. So I think we need to look our ways and see how we can do it. But I think our schooling system's strong and our varsity system's strong, and we're producing good things. But we also need to keep those freaking European scouts out of our systems because they're stealing all our players to go overseas as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem at the moment is the European scouts coming in and buying our guys straight from school. Because,
Exactly.
I mean, they're buying like 10 guys from one school and then bringing them to their club. And then at the end of the day, like we saw now, 6 months later, all of them are coming back to South Africa because they picked their one or two from that guys there and then just sent them packing home. So, well, I'm happy for the guys coming home, but it's just not right. I just don't like it. I'd rather have the better guys, the Springbok level guys, go overseas, give the
Yeah.
younger guys an opportunity, or the average guys an opportunity. The guys that develop a little bit later or so on, give them a spot. It's a win-lose situation every time. If you have all your players playing overseas or your best players playing overseas, your domestic competitions kind of
Mm.
go a little bit down, but your Springbok team goes a bit up, and vice versa. It's a difficult situation.
And I think that's what was one of our problems is South African rugby couldn't decide what the hell they wanted. And in our bad stages, we just weren't sure. Do we go overseas? No, we can't. Do we go local? No, we can't. So no one knew what the hell they wanted to do. So they either rushed overseas or they stuck with South Africa, but opportunities were missed because we couldn't control it. So I think lifting the rule, although I don't like it because it's missing out opportunities, it's definitely allowed for other players who maybe felt from a provincial level. And that's one thing we must also remember is why players go from provincial to overseas is because they don't see an opportunity within their own province. So they go overseas for a better opportunity because they just don't feel they're going to get noticed. And we actually had a guy on radio when last was about 3 months ago, and it was a kid going overseas, and I said to him, "Why you decide?" I know. I said, "Is money a factor?" And he said, "No." He said, "I couldn't get an opportunity because there were these guys going up, but I can't remember what the club was overseas. They saw the potential in this kid, and now he's going overseas to continue his career because of missed opportunities down here." So I think there's so many different ways that we probably don't always follow, and that's something I forget is these guys don't get a chance, so now they want to continue playing the sport, so they go overseas. Kevin
Yeah,
Peterson in cricket, totally off topic, but that's a good example. Why did he go overseas? Because he wasn't getting picked, and unfortunately, it was the quota reason. But he wasn't getting picked, so he thought, "Stuff this! I'm going to go play for North Hampshire or someone over there," and continued his career, and we lost him.
yeah, but hey, it's part of the sport at the moment, and yeah, the players leaving and the players going overseas. And like I like this comment from Chester that said as a European, because he's from England, he would prefer them developing their own players. I mean, bringing up Sale Sharks, you could probably field a whole team of South Africans at Sale Sharks.
Precisely. Half
I
the Sharks
actually
team
looked
is
at
there.
it the other day. You
When
could
all the
field,
Dupree
I think,
brothers.
2 positions isn't South Africans.
No, exactly. I mean, the Warthogs there, you got the Dupree brothers, you got Faf. I mean, shit, they've got a squad on there, like you just said. And that's the thing. And I think that's also why Europe, England, or maybe could be the problem with why the Europe teams never win, is because they're allowing other teams to flood their nations. I mean, South Africa could probably create 3 solid Springbok teams overseas. Never mind here.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
never even go to a domestic team. Just approach the guys in England and tell them, listen, you guys are playing England next week. You
yeah,
guys are fine to
just
do
the
that,
spot
right?
on. They need to like limit the ruling to what the IPL does and allow maybe 2 or 3 or 4 foreigners opposed to half your team.
Yeah, look, that's one thing, but the other thing, the reason they make a lot of money over there is because we watch it from all over the world. And why do you watch it? What's the main reason you would watch the Sale Sharks play? Because you have players that you like in that team. And so if you have that from every nation, you have people watching from every nation. And that's kind of the reasoning behind it. And I've actually thought about it, if Super Rugby had to maybe try and do something similar, like maybe the Stormers did with Jamie Roberts and the Blues did with, like, what's Marchant and those type of guys, bringing in 1 or 2 guys from the Northern Hemisphere just to kind of bring a little bit more fan exposure to the Southern Hemisphere. It might grow the competition as well.
I agree. I agree. I think there's some positive options to look into to pick it up, but it's interesting times we're in. Interesting time.
It is. What's this one? What about 2 or 3 recruitments a year? Limiting the amount of people you can recruit.
Yeah.
It's difficult because then you have to probably limit the amount of people you have to sell as well.
True. Yeah, that's a tough one. Interesting, but
how do you do that?
Yeah, no, that's it's a tough one. That
one country that really needs to approach getting to kind of the spot where South Africa is at the moment with having European-based players is Australia. I really think Australia, they just need to start winning again. That's what they need to do. They need to start winning again, and to start doing that will probably just be having your best players in your team, and that's unfortunately for them, most of their best players are outside.
But also the problem with Australia, and it's something I only learned since doing this YouTube story, is that it's not the number 1 sport over there. So you got your Aussie rules, that is your main focus, and a few other things, and then cricket. So rugby's like a second thing, which is sad because Australian rugby has produced legends: George Gregan, John Eales, Matthew Burke, Matt Rogers, crikey, even Falau. There's this great talent, and they have the opportunities. It's just if this new management or administration system can work, then I think they're going to be fine. But we'll see.
Yeah, they just need to kind of get people interested in it again, and to do that, you need to play an interesting brand or make the game interesting again. Need to win again. That's as easy as that. If you win, more people watch.
And also, I think the main thing is these guys need to forget about money, because money is becoming too much of a factor that's overpowering the sport we all know and love. Is what's the biggest deal that we can get? How much money can I get this player for? Should I take this deal because it's going to change my life forever? It's like, that's why Peter Steph du Toit's in the talk. He's hot. Everyone wants him. He's the World Rugby Player of the Year. And he's earned so much more respect. I've always respected him, but 20 million times more now for the fact that he decided to turn down a deal. Yes, it's going to come, but the fact that he showed commitment to his provincial side, that's all I've ever wanted to see from these guys. And for me, I think he's a superstar for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Man, I know you need to get going. I just want to talk about one last point with you. The July tests that have been postponed that we heard this morning. That's sad, but we knew it was coming, right? It was that last glimmer of hope, but we knew it was coming.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a shock, but I don't know if you heard. I love the new idea that they're planning on doing behind this whole system is scrapping June, July, and moving it to October in order to bring the international games closer together. So the South go down and challenge the North. Sorry, the North go to challenge the South, and then a couple months later we back at it again. So I think that's a smart move because between internationals we've got a hell of a long gap. So now they're thinking compete Six Nations and Championship together in April, March, and then we've got to finish your provincial levels and then straight into massive international season in October and November. And I think that's going to be pretty cool. So as gutted as I am, hopefully we can maybe see it in October.
Yeah, I'm also seeing it like that maybe at the end of the year we're going to see big rugby and a lot of rugby, hopefully.
I mean, a lot of the
if
teams,
this stuff does get to an end.
The teams that,
they're planning for the future. Maybe next year, if it doesn't happen this year, next year it might be a future plan for them to have this type of thing going, and which would be good.
I think that's one powerful thing with this whole pandemic that's currently upon us is World Rugby are forced to think of new ideas out the box. How can we update the game? How can we bring, and this is the thing I've been punting for the past month or so now, is bringing the game back to the fans. And I think they're moving in the right directions, and I'm glad to see that Bill is actually doing something from an international point of view, not just focusing on Europe. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good future for the sport.
Yeah, if he does deliver on his promises, it could be good. Because the previous 4 years with Israel, there wasn't any changes. But I hopefully learned from that, and he saw people got angry with it, and that he brings the changes, and that he saw with the stuff happening at the moment that it is necessary to bring changes because people are getting frustrated with the game and the management and how stuff are going. Because I mean, me and you both, we are positive about rugby probably always. I always see positive things coming for the future, but regularly people aren't that positive about the game. I mean, usually when I talk to people, it's a negative outlook on the future of rugby, and hopefully stuff can change a bit.
What's your take on this whole talk with investments into the brands? There was New Zealand's obviously the latest with that. Of I forgot the American brand, Sky something or something, but sorry, Silver Lake, investing in the All Blacks or New Zealand rugby in order to maybe pull them a bit from not out of world rugby, but in order to put them on their own, to give them a good investment, to keep players there, to have opportunities of inviting tournaments in, like a long tour of South Africa, like in the old days. And I think that's why football is currently so big. What's your take on investments in rugby or countries?
Yeah, look, what this one comment is saying, investment makes the game a bit superficial, which probably is true. In international level, it probably is a bit true. In domestic level, it makes sense. I understand it completely, but I think it is time for rugby to start thinking out of the box and start thinking of different ways to start doing things. And the investment could be a good opportunity for New Zealand, but as long as they still remain the All Blacks, understand? As long as they
Oh yeah,
still remain everything the All Blacks is and stand for, and it's not
I
a
don't think
change in
that will
everything.
ever change, and I don't think they can afford to because of the brand that they built. I think it's more of a way to introduce it to I think scare World Rugby a bit in order to spice things up. And like Chester says, tours are for me the way forward, an opportunity for us to look at the old school. I mean, 1996 tour after the Rugby World Cup when the All Blacks came to South Africa, first tour in how long? Those were the old days when we could see the All Blacks playing provincially. We could see development opportunity. It's like the Lions, but and I think we needed World Rugby really need to consider that whether it's just take a year off the schedule or something in order to bring a year or months full, like scrap July and November internationals, and just put tours where we have solid months of tour rugby, just to give opportunities and something different. Because at the end of the day, the old school fans and the old school rugby is what built the game. Let's go back
Yeah.
a bit and test it out.
Yeah, I mean, if I could watch a tour from England to here, I would love it. I would love
Mm.
watching a tour. It doesn't matter what tour, even if it's New Zealand to South Africa, it would be an amazing tour. And then you could bring the second teams in again. Because
Yeah,
I think South Africa or all international teams doesn't have a second team that's relevant anymore. And I think that's something that
agreed.
could become relevant again. To have your opening fixture before the match is your second team. I mean, every country has enough players for two teams, and it's something that's relevant and or that could be relevant again
I mean, we
with
used to
more
always hear
investment.
of it.
Yeah, with more investment, that type of stuff could happen. So even if this investment is just to scare off or scare World Rugby a bit, it's good. I'm I'm still not sure about the investment though. I'm not sure how it would go down. I mean, would they completely split off of World Rugby and
No, I don't think they can afford to,
that?
because I just don't think because they need to get World Rugby's control over how international. I think it's more on the lines on how they're going to change the game within New Zealand. So pull out of your. I think it would be to create your own type of Super Rugby, involve the Pacific Island nations, and go on their own from that point of view. I don't think you'll see maybe All Black. I don't. All Blacks will never leave for me. So I think it's more of a way of developing the sport in New Zealand, investing in the team itself, and also to prevent guys like Ben Smith, Nene Molnaskara, um, all these guys who want to go overseas. Keep them here. How are you going to keep them here? Put more money into the sport. And I think the same goes to South Africa. If we can put more money into provincial, guys won't leave.
Yeah. And I brought up earlier, if you could have a tournament that kind of involves the world in your country, that kind of brings enough money in already. So a little bit of investment in bringing in players from overseas, but you limit it to a amount that could
Yeah,
kind of expand the game. And like a lot of guys always complain about, they can't watch the games from overseas. I mean, we can't watch the top league. I can't watch the top league unless I
yeah,
follow very illegal routes. Then I can watch the top league. But
precisely.
so that's it. It's not a game that I can watch, but you can anytime watch the French competition. You can anytime watch the English competition. And New Zealand is in a very good position to actually do that because everyone wants to know why the All Blacks are the All Blacks. So if you could have a very good domestic competition with a lot of investment there, you might
Agreed.
get a lot of interest domestically there as well.
And I think that's the thing is to try and compete with what the North are doing. And if it excites people, let's go for it. But and I think that's the sort of idea because another topic that came up this week is America creating a new league. But the idea is for it to be like IPL. So you got your focus is on America, but you then buy in players. I think it's also going to be limited
Mm,
to try and spice the game up and introduce it to America. Now I'm all for this idea, and I think it's great. But how the heck are you going to create another worldwide tournament and implement it in a rugby calendar that's already so damn full? Um,
yeah.
is Sia Kolisi going to leave the Stormers for 3 months in order to achieve this tournament? Or I
Mm,
don't know how they're going to. It's still a long way away. But the more we create, too much is going to be the problem. So technically, they should all work together and focus on Club World Cup
mm,
and excite something there and just bring something, like you say, so we can all watch and enjoy.
yeah. And the excitement should kind of be back at a domestic level. At a
Yeah,
domestic level, more people should be watching your domestic games. And I think in South Africa, I've noticed more people not watching rugby, which a
yeah.
couple of years back was not the case. Every single person watched rugby. Now, it was with the World Cup with the Springboks was a different story. They
That's
did a completely different story. Everyone was watching. So there has to be a bit more excitement around the
well,
domestic
that
game, and then everything gets fixed.
I think you're 100% right there. And I even remember going through it myself with a good mate of mine who we always watched actually our whole group we watched the games. And 2 3 years ago we were in it, and then or 5 years ago, and then the Alistair Coetzee era, we would watch everything for the Springboks, but when it came to Super Rugby, we almost lost that excitement. It wasn't like, shit, it's Super Rugby this weekend. And then it started coming back last year. But for me, this year, it really sad because this is the year where it freaking went all pear shaped because of the coronavirus. But I felt, and I think the World Cup helped, the excitement for rugby again, and
Mm.
for Super Rugby provincially, even Curry Cup, I was looking forward to, which has been a thing where we would go, oh, Curry Cup, if you made your Super Group picks, cool, we'll watch the big game if Province Sharks play, type thing.
Yeah,
So I think it's coming back, but we need to control it and keep it going.
yeah, I agree. I mean, Curry Cup, it's not what it used to be. I haven't really watched Curry Cup a lot. I kind of started up again. But one of the main things why I started the channel like probably a year and a half ago, why I never had the opportunity to talk to people about rugby anymore. That's probably my main reason because I am a massive rugby fan. I love rugby. And then who do you talk to if you love talking about it all the time and you
Yeah,
just get these guys, your colleagues, just yes, yeah.
yeah.
You need to talk to someone, and we need
That's
to
one
get
of
that excitement back again.
that's one of the reasons why I did it. I mean, okay, luckily my friendship group are all rugby fans, so we can talk sport. I mean, my best mate from school, him and I could talk it a hole in the wall of it. My good mates who I watch rugby with on weekends every time and braai with, we all talk it. But for me, with creating my channel was to be able to discuss it and share an opinion, and also speak to say that we don't quite agree with, for example, team selection, the coach, do what super sport guys aren't really doing because they're not allowed to. This platform gives you and me the opportunity to rip into someone honestly and respectively, but give a fair analysis of how we can approach the game. And through that, we seeing other opinions coming up, and more people are inspired to create channels, and that's why the community is growing. I mean, 1014 are one of the best out there on YouTube. Then, I mean, Raw Rugby, Skinnybru, you got the legends driving more, and I mean, my goal was to get as close to driving more, and then I overtook him, and it was then neck and neck with 1014, and then they shot up. And then 2 cents came from behind and whooped us all. But it's the passion and the love of the game that I think what ignites fans and this, what we're doing now, interacting with these guys,
Mm.
commenting, is important. And hopefully, us South African YouTubers get more exposure, and we can grow this platform and interact with guys from overseas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I absolutely love doing this. I love doing it. I told my girlfriend when I started doing it, I told her, okay, listen, I'm gonna start a channel, and in a week, if no one watched my content, I'm gonna stop. And then I got a couple of hundred views in the first week, and then I was like, okay, so I have a channel now, and I'm gonna continue with it, and
Yeah.
then see where it goes, and it kind of just never stopped. It's kind of your hobby. It just becomes your
Well, that
everything. I mean, my whole day is about what am I gonna put on Skinnybru? What can I share with my followers? I wonder if they also gonna find this interesting. Reading through Facebook, going through Rugby. That's my whole day on a normal basis. I can share it with other
yeah.
people.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what excites me and keeps me going even during lockdown. Like I'm working from home full time, but this is my passion to keep me going and motivated. So when I'm feeling down or out, I'm like, let's create something for the people, and it's like a second career, dream career for us to grow. And
Yeah.
although we don't get as much of an income as these big oaks in the US and the UK, it's an opportunity for us to grow. And that's one thing I've always, when people say, gee, man, I want to be like you and start a YouTube channel. And then I always say, first, don't think of the money and don't think of the views. Think of the reason why you're doing it. And that is first and foremost sharing your passion for rugby, sharing passion for one motivating people and the sport. So that's what I try. Again, it's hard because you think, oh, I did better this month, last month. Why am I doing shit this month? It's hard, but
Mm.
if you can drill that momentum, which I learned to do in first the second year of me doing this. I think this will be my fourth year. Then you're on your way, and I think that's
Yeah.
the way forward. And I think that's why Two Cents has also done so damn well, is because it's never been about that or talking about it. It's always been rugby, the sport, the passion. But what I love, what's
Yeah.
really ignited me and gave me a second one, was being able to interact with people who spend their time watching my content and creating friendships and um, bonds with these guys from around the world, from South Africa. It's amazing how we can reach around.
Yeah, and I would love to tell people, listen, going to the Lions tour next week with that question, or next year, I could pay it easily with my YouTube money. Easily. It's the easiest thing on earth. No, it's out of my pocket. It's because I love rugby. I want to be there. I want to be at
Yes.
the Sevens tournaments, all that stuff. It's just doing this thing, doing all this content, all that stuff, it's because you love doing it. It's
Yeah.
because you want to share it with stuff or with other
And
people. And it's good to hear it from you as well, because there's two people that made me start doing this. It was 2 Cents and you. Okay, so that was the two people that I looked up to, and then I was like, these guys are so passionate. I need to start doing this as well. I also want to share my
yeah,
opinion, because I was always sharing my opinion in the comments. Then I was like, I can't keep on commenting the whole
you want
time.
to
I
do it.
have
That,
more
that
to
itch.
say.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And it's so easy. We were talking about it before we went live, like using a phone. I use my phone too. It's as simple as picking up a phone and recording it, and you just don't know what you can do unless you've tried. Um,
Yeah,
it was literally a spur of the moment when I picked up and recorded something, and I said to my mate, "It's either writing blogs or it's this." And he said, "Just you're good at this stuff. Do it or give it a try." And I did, and I haven't looked back, and I've got no regrets. And also to keep on a motivation for you going forward is we being watched by fans and people. There are networks watching us. We just don't know it yet, and sooner or later they will pick it up in South Africa when we get bigger, and there will be opportunities like what the 1014 are doing. I mean, They've left YouTube. That's one thing I really want to try not to do is leave because this is what originally built me. But if it does come to an opportunity where you are contacted by a network, these things can happen. And I know SuperSport have acknowledged one or two of my things, and even the Springboks. So if you just keep fighting at it, and also keeping out the stats and the monetary value out of your mind, sooner or later this is gonna take over, and you'll be just there with all the other guys. It really is as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, how many guys have asked you probably the same? How do I start doing this? How do you start the YouTube
I
channel?
get
It's
a
like,
ton.
just start. Don't make the video perfect. Just start. That's literally what I
One,
did as well. It was literally, I decided the day, I think I'm going to start a channel. The night I recorded it, the next day I posted it, and I got views. That's what happened, and
there you go.
that's
The
kind of how it works.
one rule I've tried to live with is to, when guys ask for advice, I give it freely, but it's also to limit. I want to then see the guys are like, cool, will you give me a shout out straight away? And my literal response is no, not at this stage, because I want to see you put the effort out there. I want to see you
Yeah,
actually take it seriously, because I've worked my arse off for what I've built. The 18,000 subscribers didn't come overnight. It took me 4 months to get 100 subscribers. It took me a year to get 1,000. It took me 3 to get to where I was. So you've got to see an effort, and that's why um, smaller YouTubers, like for me, when I look at the driving mall, I just can't understand why he doesn't have more, because he's been around for so long. So there is a guy I've given out a shout out, and I would again. You put in the effort. Like I said to you yesterday or the day before, your thumbnails is what attracted me, and the work you've put in. So for me, this has to happen, because one, you're a fellow South African. I want to see this community grow, but it's the effort and the passion you put in, which is why I'll agree on doing it. Because if someone creates something tomorrow and says, "Give me a shout out," sorry, I want to see you. Give me a glimpse of hope that you're going to stick onto it and that you've committed yourself, because I could give you a shout out and my guys come back to me and say, gee, why did you shout this guy out? After a month, he's given up. Precisely that.
Hmm.
And that's one thing. It might sound harsh-ish, but we've worked hard to get to where we are, and if other people want it, they need to work too. It's
Yeah,
we're not given a job.
yeah.
We've got to study. We've got to
Like,
gain experience. It's all like that.
if I see another guy working hard and he is doing the
Exactly.
work in his videos, and his videos are proper, and I see he's doing the hard work and putting the video out, then I start telling him, listen, now you need to start thinking of social media, and you need to start
Yeah.
thinking of that type of stuff to get your video out there. That's how you grow. And that's the interesting stuff. I'm still learning it as well. I think you know it a lot
I'm
better than
learning
I do.
too. I'm
But it's
learning too.
constant
There's a
learning,
lot.
constant learning.
There's a lot I don't know. There's a lot I still want to do. I use a simple editing program. I want to have the fancy stuff shooting through my screen. There's so much I want to still do, and I need to learn. So I think you will notice that going forward too. Is you're gonna New things are gonna come up and pick up. But it's all about consistency and keeping your guys that have committed to you. Like Chester said, you're about to take off. That's the truth,
Yeah,
because South African
thanks.
rugby is standing out. And 10-14, funny enough, they acknowledged me, and the guy said, "There's so much potential in South Africa for this and to broadcast out there we don't even know about." And I think that's so true. And if we can focus and get an audience around, hey, you are going to go places too. That's a fact.
Hopefully, man. I think both of our dreams would probably be to go further in this rugby thing, and just to research rugby the whole time and stop doing this video editing stuff and stop doing all that editing stuff. Give that to someone that studied that and
Exactly.
let us just do the rugby stuff that we love. That would probably be both of our dreams to go into something like that.
Precisely. It's
But
like I
we need
said,
to go through it to get there.
that's the thing. Someone said to me, if you could do this full time, would you? And I said, yes, tomorrow, right now. But you got to build this platform. You got to build, and one day we will be there. And we're still young. We're still growing. But if we're consistent in the years and don't give up, yeah, we'll be somewhere. That's the truth.
Yeah, we'll definitely be somewhere. Man, do you still need to go somewhere? Do you still need to leave?
I've still got about 5 more minutes, so we
5
can.
more minutes because I saw there's a question coming in here.
No, cool. Let's chat to them.
Yeah, let's see. Lockdown, they say.
Yeah,
Change.
it's a good question. I think it will change, and that's what we were actually talking about earlier. Is now's the perfect opportunity to spice the game up and to shake things up. So I think it will be good.
Yeah, I think so as
Okay.
well. I think the whole world of rugby is basically going to start thinking of changing. I mean, even in France, we saw now them releasing some players. Who would have ever thought that's going to happen in France, where almost every
Exactly.
union is releasing players because of money? So I think South African unions are probably going to start rethinking stuff. How exactly, I have no idea. South Africa, the rugby over here have a tendency not to do what we think they're going to do.
Yeah. Now I think it's interesting times ahead, and we'll have to wait and see how they approach it. But I do feel we're going to see change, and I think it's going to be for the better. It has to be, or we're going to lose money and see it fail, which I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree. Still, Heinrich over here isn't liking the the being a commoner over here.
What is it? It's not. Oh, in blue. Oh, because he's a moderator on my channel. So I can see it now with him.
Next time we have a live stream, it is on Gareth's channel, so then you'll be
Yeah.
back in blue again.
No,
We'll just give it a couple of weeks for news to start flooding in, and then we need to talk again.
no, we will.
Soon.
Maybe do it in about 2 weeks' time and get it. Oh, there's another question. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think I'll let my power. I think this is a question everyone's talking about, and I think I was reading, kind of chatting earlier about it. They say the Kings need to earn their place in the Curry Cup. I would have first put them in the Curry Cup rather than Pro 14, and then taken it from there. It's a learning union. It's got potential. It's got growth, but unfortunately, we're losing a lot of players. So I think we need to first focus on getting the Southern Kings in the first division. We should win that, and then Curry Cup, earn it, and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if there's any team that deserves it actually to be there above the Kings, it's probably either the Pumas or the Griquas. One of those two probably deserve it more to be in the Pro 14 than the Kings that just basically had it handed to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right there. Even though Kings are my hometown, but I agree. I think the Griquas did so much, and they were so competitive at one stage, getting top logs even, and had the opportunity. So combine a good team with the Griquas and link up a few. I think we could prove something really special out there. So yeah, I think Kings need to unfortunately leave Pro 14 and bring in another South African team that we can build up and take it from there. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it works, It will silence the European guys who don't believe in us.
If you had to pick one South African team, any South African team, even a Super Rugby team, to win the Pro 14, which one would it be? I don't know my answer yet. I'm just
Sure, that's a tough one. Well, the Bulls have already won the Super Rugby, so I don't say them. They've got a title. I would be happy for the Cheetahs, to be honest. I think they're a very underrated team. What we often forget is they've lost a hell of a lot of quality to teams like the Sharks and the Bulls and around the world. For me, I think they need to really be given I think they've done well in Pro 14, and I'll be happy for them. And I think they can, but if I have to pick one, it's got to be probably Stormers or Sharks. I just think they're strong enough to do it. Even the Bulls under Jake, but I think Stormers or Sharks would have the best chance of probably going all the way. Unfortunately, if you were talking to me 2 years ago, I would have said the Lions, no doubt, but the Lions aren't there anymore. They've got a lot of work to do. So, that's my choice.
Through a dipping stage again. The Lions. I'd probably back the Sharks if I have to be honest.
I didn't want to say the Sharks. You didn't want to say, but you're a Sharks supporter, so I just kept quiet.
I know you didn't want to say it.
But
I know
in
you
my
didn't
head,
want
I've
to
made
say
Sharks all the way.
But the Sharks are probably in a good spot. They have a very solid team, and you just can't deny it. It's just all round. But hey, the Cheetahs, I would love it if they could do better. I mean, I have a soft spot for them. I do live in Bloemfontein, if you didn't know that. So I live over here. I have a soft spot for them. I would love them to actually continue and win something. And with all the talks of bigger guys coming in as well, I mean, they're talking about Bismarck also coming. And I saw there was talks about the what's the guy, Robert Eberson, was released from his French club, and they are talking to him as well. I just read that here.
Oh, wow.
I read that in a Bloemfontein.
You see, but you see
Magazine.
that they can still play overseas. They still got to earn good money. So these guys are thinking, all right, I'll come back to the Cheetahs. Just imagine Bismarck du Plessis back in South Africa with them. I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna be exciting. I'd watch out for those Cheetahs. I think they're gonna be good. And Frans Steyn is back, so I'm looking forward to that.
Frans Steyn can just get them 3 points any time of the match. That's gonna help them as well. That's always been a problem of the Cheetahs. They can't get those 3 points when it matters. So.
No, it's going to be interesting times. I think South African rugby's got an exciting future. We've got good things to look forward to.
Okay, yeah, man. But listen, you had to go already 2 minutes ago, so sorry for keeping you a little bit longer. But it was really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Everyone that tuned in, I really enjoyed it. I could probably talk another 2 or 3 hours.
I probably could too, but let's save that for the next one, so we can keep it going.
Let's save something. It was really fun. Let's do that soon again. Yeah, sharp, man. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and thanks for coming onto the channel, Chester. Cheers, man.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.